Welcome to another episode of Coffee Break with the CompTIA Councils. Today I am with Tony Francisco, who is the CEO of Cloud Plus and is one of our channel advisory board members. And we were talking last week at our ChannelCon event, and we were talking about it's really all about the customer experience. And I thought this is a great topic for Tony to cover. And he actually thought about it, right? So he thought the title up. It's all about the customer experience. So when you think about customers, there's vendors, distributors, solution providers, end users, all in this world of technology that we live in. And he wanted to kind of cover the angle of how customers and what customers are looking for. So Tony, the first bullet we wanted to hit, well, welcome first off.
Thank you, Chris. I love being a part of the CompTIA community. It was great seeing you and everyone in Las Vegas. So,
all right, so let's tackle vendors first, right? So when you think about vendors, they have a few different customers sometimes. So vendors have distributors as customers, but they also have solution providers as customers. Sometimes they even have end users as customers. So what do you think about the vendors and their customer situation?
Well, first going back to the original part about me thinking this up, I don't think there's anyone out there that has not thought about the customer experience, and maybe there's a moment of clarity. Maybe there's a realization that they too are the customer, not just the vendor. I think it's incredibly important that everyone realizes that we're all customers. Everyone is a customer. Everybody is purchasing something from someone, but we're also all vendors. We're all reselling something from someone else, or selling to someone else in some way, shape, or form. Maybe that's selling yourself to someone inside your company as a trusted advisor, a trusted comrade, whatever they may be, that you guys are a team. But we're all vendors, we're all customers, and there are different levels of customers, of course, starting off with the end customer that typically is serviced by the MSP. In our industry, the managed service provider. The MSPs are typically a customer being sold items through a distributor, and the distributor is typically the customer being sold items from the vendor, which leads back to your point of, as a vendor, how are they, how are they to be valued or placed in this hierarchy? And frankly, it kind of stinks. They're selling everything to everyone. So they're the end. The ball ends with them. But they're also buying things from other people, and to make something that's of merit to resell to their distributors, to the MSPs, and with the advent of software as a service, directly to the end customer. So I would actually, believe it or not, start with the other side to make it easier, the end customer, because that's where everything's going. Software in the past was typically sold in the IT industry, and now software is purchased. You can pick up your cell phone and buy an application, and now you, as a customer and end user, you can go directly to a company and purchase an enterprise class email system just by clicking a button. Who would have thought that was possible, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Now it's commonplace. So the end customer, their experience, that's where your vision has to be, because if you can understand what that end customer is going to see and experience, it plays itself very nicely in all the other roles. Hopefully that answers part of the question.
So when you think about the customer experience, right, and the title of this is really, it's all about the customer experience. I think that when you talk about that end user and how much they've changed over the last 5-7 years or so, they've gotten so much smarter. So, when you think about how, as a vendor or solution provider, distributor, you have to tailor your path and your process to that experience. What are your thoughts on that, right? Since it's become so easy for an end user to buy something.
Good rule of thumb is, if your customer doesn't have a way to procure your item, your service, to manage that item or service, to pay for that item and service on a monthly basis, if it's actually a service, and to get support for that item or service, if you don't have a singular, autonomous location that they can access at any time to do all of those items, you're behind the times. and that's where everything is going. The problem with that is we're all anchored with history, and that history makes it more difficult based on the current or the previous way that we're doing things, transitioning to what we're currently doing, and of course moving forward to where things are going. The end user experience should be, and I don't know how appropriate this is, but I like to build things, I call it drunk adult proof. There's going to be somebody on a Friday night and they're just going to be, having a drink, and how easy is it for them to click on something and mess something up? How difficult will it be for them to purchase something new, to upgrade that, to manage it, to change the licensing, to maybe think a little bit ahead without getting into the weeds and, more importantly, messing things up? How easy is that process going to be? And if you can make that Apple simple, like iPad simple. I mean, any 2-year-old can pick up an iPad and instantaneously understand how it works and how to operate it. We've all seen that happen. If you can make it that simple and play into the enterprise class offering, you have won, in my opinion.
Well, and it's interesting because, I think that was the value of distribution. And we always talk about what's the value of distribution, right? By making it kind of the original single pane of glass, right? So when you think about distribution, it always was that one-stop shop. But as customers and clients have gotten smarter and quicker and faster, that experience now, it's kind of bypassed everybody, and they just go to that, that iPad experience or that Amazon experience that we talk about. Just how quickly can I buy something and research it and understand it, and they don't need as much help. Right. So
I would also add on to that, because I didn't quite address how smart they've gotten. They say that 81% of all the decisions are made prior to the customer's first contact with the vendor. The research has been done. They know exactly what they want. The other side of that sword, the other blade, because it is a double-bladed sword, is that they're now finicky in essence, because they can now oscillate between their choices. They don't have a singular choice. They have there's a list, and there's always a top of the list, and maybe you are the top of the list, but rest assured there's always a second, third, fourth to that. And with that click to provision experience or expectation, that instant gratification that they're expecting, they can toggle from yours if it does not meet the onboarding process, the support, the payment, whatever it may be process that they envision. They're going to go to the next one, and that may be a sacrifice of some of the features, but that's their decision.
So how does a vendor, distributor, and solution provider battle that customer experience, right? And making it a great customer experience where they don't want to switch?
That is the holy grail, and that's something I've literally been working on for years of my life, on that particular platform that addresses a lot of that. Like I said, the starting point is clearly a singular location to procure, manage, get support, and pay for whatever is being purchased. If you do not have that singular point, if you do not have a one username and password, because adding another vendor puts the customer into a vendor management position, but that also gets into a multiple user management position, because as easy as it is to procure one service, an enterprise class email system on one side, and then an enterprise class data backup service on the other side, you now have doubled the amount of users and passwords that you have to manage, which means that if you implement an endpoint protection, now you've not just tripled, it's now you're moving into the exponential rate of understanding you're managing you've tripled the amount of users, and it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 scenario. It's a 1 + 1 = now 3, 4, 5, as you add more vendors. So decreasing the operational underpinnings, the one username and password, is critical if you're offering services. The ability to have an autonomous support system, or an extremely responsive support system, because people will have questions after hours, that they can get addressed and immediately resolve a situation. The ability to have, if they in turn are using this product or service to resell to others, the ability to have not just reseller facing material, but customer facing material. So now if a distributor or a vendor is selling to an MSP, here are the great things that you can do for your customers, but that doesn't do anything for the MSP talking to their customers. So here are the great things it does for you. And that translation, getting rid of that, it makes it frictionless. Getting rid of that friction between the MSP and the customer is just making it that much easier. So it's a good starting point.
So one final thought. So, when you think about customers of today, we often think of them as so educated, so aware. They, like you said, they know what they want, or they're pretty sure of what they want before they even, decide to buy, right? Is the fact of salespeople and customer service moving away? I'd argue that places like Nordstrom, still have a handle on the fact that they can service people and recommend things and take people through a sales process. Is that all going away, or is it just everybody's kind of changing and deciding when they want help or when they don't want help?
I'm going to use an example, and ironically, it's self-defeating in part of the example, because you would argue that the Amazon marketplace has zero customer service. That being said, there's more customer service at Best Buy. There's the argument that it could be killed, depending on your experience at Best Buy. But I've had very good experience at Best Buy, but I've also had no one help me for 15 minutes. So depending on your experience there, you're probably going to get more customer service at the Best Buy. But at the end of the day, they both sell the same things. So the question is, why isn't Amazon crushing Best Buy? I think that's the Darwinism of being a vendor. You're watching everybody that does not have an expertise or speciality in what they do disappear. They're being completely cannibalized by gobbled up by the Amazon automation and autonomy and ease of use, ease of convenience. But at the same time, you've got Best Buy having its best years ever because that's what they do. I would also say that using the Nordstrom example is brilliant because they're a hero to their customers, and that's what you want to be. You want to be the hero to your customers, but heroes aren't born. They're cornered in a situation, and necessity is that mother of invention. So they, at the time when there was no such thing as internet sales or marketplaces, they said, here is the differentiation between the Nordstrom experience and every other store in Sears, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
We are going to be a hero, an advisor to our customers, and they will come back because we're not selling them anything. We're both able to sell the exact same thing, but we are advising them and assisting them throughout the process. And that is where Nordstrom made a mark in history because of that. But the moral of the story is that if you focus on what you are doing and become good at it, there's a huge distinctive advantage that you have over others.
I think you bring up a good point, and a final note, just, hey, that hero mentality and be good at what you're going to be good at, right? So I think that there's value in both the full-on customer service angle, and there's also value in that speedy, fast self-help angle. All right, so we are out of time. Hopefully our coffee break was worthwhile. So Tony, I want to thank you. As always, you do a fabulous job on the councils for us. So any final thoughts?
It's a privilege to be part of CompTIA, and I'm happy to share whatever information I have. And if anyone's watching this and not a part of the CompTIA organization, the communities, the groups, you have to be. It's an amazing family.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Chris.